That song is definitely going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. So while you're queuing up Styx on Spotify, why not join me for some sailing on beautiful Lake Windermere, as well as an update on my whips, hos, and FOs on this episode of Doll Belly Knits. Hey everyone, and welcome to Doll Belly Knits. My name is Annabelle, and you can find me here on YouTube as Doll Belly Knits, and you can also find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Doll Belly. Additionally, this vlog has a group on Ravelry, and if you go to the group tabs and search for Doll Belly Knits, you'll find me and other viewers in the forums chatting away. If you are a return viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're a new viewer, thank you for coming and stopping by and checking me out. I'm really happy to have you here. If you like what you see, don't forget to give my video a like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any episodes in the future. Right, so let's just dive right in. I'm going to talk to you first about whips, and then I'll talk to you about my hos and my FOs, and then I will move on to the magical memory of beautiful Lake Windermere. So first thing on my whips project is my pattern for the top hat fascinator that I made for the royal wedding. If you didn't get a chance to see it, here it is. So little white, off-white top hat, it's got the netting, it's got the flower, goes on the head. Really cute object. I think it would be really cute to actually wear to a wedding, or it would actually be cute to use for a hen party or a bridal party, where of course the bride gets to wear the beautiful tiara and all her bridesmaids and friends could have the little white top hats. But I wrote up the pattern, and I've had some test knitters, test crocheters, sorry, check it out. So as soon as I'm completely happy, I will be uploading it on Ravelry as a free pattern. So I will let you all know when that is out, or you can stop by Ravelry sometime during this week and go to my page, Doll Belly, or go to the group Doll Belly Knits, and I will make sure that the link is available in the Doll Belly Knits group, and then if you're on my page, you'll be able to see that I have a pattern, and it's going to be my first pattern, so I'm really excited to be joining the other designers on Ravelry and having a design pattern, and it's just super exciting, especially for me, because the times that I've made things off the top of my head, I don't write it down, and then I think, oh, I'd like to make that again, but I'm not really sure what I did. So I am a little proud of myself for writing it all down and figuring it out, and actually having somebody test crochet it, and it came out looking like what it was supposed to. So yeah, yay me, and yay you who participate and download the pattern and make yourself a cute little top hat fascinator. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So I got my bag of stuff here in my chair, because I have a lot of whips, a couple hos, and an FO to show you. So I gotta have a bag to hold it all together. Right, okay, so first thing I'll say is that my fiery venomous tentacula, that is still a work in progress. I was able to get some knitting in on that, but I'm going to talk about that later on at the end of the show. So that project is doing some badness. Oh, okay, here we go. Needle out, that's okay. The fiery venomous tentacula I have in my soap sud sack. Again, take a look at something, see if maybe you can use it for something else. You never know. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. First thing I'm going to talk about though is the reusable snack bags. If you've seen any of my previous episodes, you've seen the reusable snack bags that I have made, and my children and my husband use them in their lunches every day. I love them because it solved a problem that I had in a sense of not wanting to buy those little individual bags. Although they are very convenient for packing lunches, they're usually more expensive than buying the big share bag. And then there are all these little wrappers that end up going in the landfills or in the ocean. So I made reusable bags, so that would help solve that problem and help save the world, save the oceans, one crisp bag at a time. So anyway, it's time to make some new ones. The ones that we've had for a while. They're looking a little dingy. And additionally, the lining is starting to crack because I wash them and use them every day. So they really are getting bang for my buck, that's for sure, and some wear and tear. So I decided to do some new ones. Last episode, I showed you some of the possibilities that I may try out. And I decided to go with the black Doritos bag. So I got that started. I'm just using stuff from my stash. It's Red Heart acrylic, super saver solid. It's black, obviously. And I'm using a 16-inch circular needle. I believe it's a size 3.5. Don't quote me on that. That's just what my thought is right now. But this is what I have so far. I'm doing it in the round, straight knit stockinette. And yeah, so I don't have a lot, just this much. But it's just gonna go in a tube in the circular knitting fashion until I'm happy with the length. This is gonna be the width. Oh, yeah, you can see my little stitch marker. Can you see the little gnome? I love these. These stitch markers, I've had them for like 8 years, and I got them as a birthday gift for my brother, and they were from a designer. Her name is Jillian, and her Etsy shop is Wee Ones, WEE ONES. She makes all these stitch markers. They're all out of like polymer clay. She molds them, she shapes them. They're really fantastic. I highly recommend you go out and check her Etsy shop, and I'm sure you will find something that you love. And I love these. This is one of 4. We have a thing for gnomes in my family. So this is a yellow one, and then there's a blue one and a red one and a green one, and I do believe that's actually still available on her website. Okay, anyway, this, I was worried about the width. I've cast on 60 or 70 stitches, and I think that's what I had done with the previous ones, but I don't want it to be like a super huge bag. It's supposed to look like a little portable sharing bag, but I need the width of the 60 or 70 stitches so that I can duplicate stitch the word Doritos, because if you've seen my other Doritos bag, it's actually just Dorito, just one. So I need the width for that, but I'm concerned about it being too big. But I'm going to carry on, be reet, as they say here in Yorkshire. And I probably will be able to use the additional width, because some of the ones that I've made, like the, I'm drawing a blank, Sun Chips. I made a Sun Chips bag, and even the Dorito one are a little on the thin side, and sometimes I feel like I just can't get enough crisps or chips inside the bag for the kids. So I'm going to carry on. This is kind of like, well, it's always an experiment when you're making something up out of your head. Although you would think it shouldn't be so difficult since it's just a tube and I should be able to work it out. But it's maths. It involves mathematics. It's probably not my thing. So we'll see what happens. I will keep you up to date on that. Yes. Okay. Next work in progress that I have is my beanie for charity. So I have decided that I was going to donate beanies to a charitable drive that's being organized by another crocheter. If you'd like to know a little bit more about that, you can check out episode 8 where I talk about it, or you can just message me down below, or you can message me in Ravelry if you really want to know more and maybe possibly get involved. But basically the organizer is collecting beanies and scarves to donate to the homeless in his area, as well as to donate to a local Veterans Administration house. It's a charitable house where family members can stay while their loved one is receiving medical care at the adjoining facility. So the first one that I had made was this one, and it's the pattern that I used is the Ramble On beanie by Gretchen Tracy. I really like the pattern. I like the way it looks, nice and squishy and warm and soft. So I was happy with that, and I decided to do that again. I've chosen purple as my color this time around, and again, just using what I have in stash. Although look, because I'm holding the string, doubling it, I am taking the super huge risk of working it at the same time from the pull center and from the outside. So I may have a really big mess on my hands, but nothing a pair of scissors can't handle. So I've started this. Here we go. Never sure where to hold it. So I've just started and I got a little bit of the brim of the hat. I'm not as happy with this as I am with this one, and I think it's probably the yarn. This again is Red Heart Super Saver Solids acrylic. This one here was a Sidar Hayfield Bonus Chunky. That's a mouthful. But it too is acrylic, but it feels a lot softer. So, you know, I try to use what I have on hand, and I will go forward and see what happens. But I may actually have to go ahead and purchase some of this yarn because I really do like it. It's inexpensive and it's for a charitable good cause, so why not? What I did do different this time though is I used a smaller needle. This hat was done on a US 13 9mm needle. I have these circular bamboos, and that was okay, that was fine. But this time I decided to actually go with what the pattern called for, you know, follow the instructions. And I'm using a, what is it? Here it is. It's a US 10.5 or 6.5mm. And I think that was probably a good choice because it seems like holding the two strings of Red Heart together is making the gauge a little larger than the one single strand of the Sidar Chunky. So again, it's a work in progress, so we'll see what happens. If I'm not happy, I will rip it out and start over. But if you are going to make some things for charity, no matter what you're doing, and especially like if you're looking at hats, this Sidar Hayfield Chunky, that is really inexpensive and it feels really nice. It doesn't feel as rough as maybe some of the other acrylics like Red Heart. So that would be a recommendation that I have. And then, you know, if you run out, you just finish it off with something else, and that kind of gives it a interesting design. What do we call those? It's a design feature. I planned it that way. Right. So that is my beanie for charity, and got needles sticking everywhere. This is a big mess over here on the side. It's like super huge mess. It's like a yarn explosion every time you record a video. There's another needle. Hey! Yeah, if you have any questions or you're interested in donating to the same charitable cause that I am, please send me a comment below in this video or get in touch with me in the Ravelry groups, and I'd be happy to pass that information along. Let's see. Yep, that's it for all my works in progress, because I have the venomous tentacula, and I'm going to talk about that in later part of the show. So the next things that I would talk about would be HOs, or half-finished objects, and you have seen them plenty of times, and I actually feel a little shameful that they're not finished by now, but it is what it is, you know. You got life interferes with your crafting. So I have the baby blanket that I'm working on for niece. I am really almost, I swear, I promise, I'm almost finished that. And then there are the socks for hubby. They're kind of purplish looking, so that's a new color for him. And I have like maybe 3 inches left on the cuff now. So I'm almost done those as well. And hopefully next time you see me, I will have at least one of them, if not both of them, as finished objects to show you. But moving on to, that was the mailman. Moving on to finished objects, I have, that's too much, my notes went too far. Yes. Okay, so finished objects, I have this soap sack. Mel from Mel Brown Crafting Podcast, she recently released this pattern as a free download on Ravelry. She uses these, actually her husband uses them, she makes them for her husband, and basically it's a all cotton crocheted sack that you can put bibs and bobs, little bits of soap in, and put them inside and then use them as a scrubby. So that way you're not wasting those little bars of soap that you pick up at the hotel. Her husband does a lot of traveling, so that's where the little bars of soap come from. But you know how it is for you. You have a bar of soap on your sink, and then you get down to this little nub, and you know, like, what are you going to do with it? So you could chuck it in here and then use it in your bath or in your shower. For me, I love this pattern. I actually already used something similar to this, because I will only use one kind of soap, and that's Dove. It's gynecologist recommended, at least the one that I used to work for. So I like to take that with me when we go traveling, and I am like everybody else. When it's time to go on vacation, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to the drugstore, the apothecary, whatever you want to call it, and you go right to the travel section. And yes, I love the travel section. Who doesn't? Little itty bitty cute bottles of soap and shampoo and all that stuff, and then you get all the little travel thing. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, it would be like going into a yarn store where you're like, yay, there's all these really cute things I want to touch, I want to see, I want to have it. But for me, it doesn't really work out in terms of, I want to take this bar of soap with me, which can be kind of large. It's certainly not itty bitty travel size. I have my soap at home. I'm not going to go out and buy a little itty bitty travel size when I already have the soap, so I need a container to take it in. When you go to the travel section, there's plenty of soap containers, but the problem with them is that they're usually hard plastic. You drop that puppy in the shower, crack, it's gone. Money down the drain, probably, literally and figuratively. Additionally, the boxiness of the box makes it sometimes difficult to pack inside your toiletry kit, because it won't mold or fit the shape, and then you're trying to zip things closed and you're cursing, and it's not a happy vacation then. With these sacks, that solves that problem. The bar of soap fits right inside, and then it will mold and fit into wherever you want to pack it away in your suitcase. Additionally, the problem with the boxes is that Dove soap in particular, because it is so highly moisturizing, it makes it really, really soft. And if there is absolutely any water left in with the soap just like melts. It's like a wax candle, just everywhere. So with something like this that's made of cotton, when you put the bar of soap inside, the cotton sucks up the moisture, and then that takes care of that problem and keeps the bar of soap intact. So I was very happy to test crochet this for her, and I'm very happy with having another one of these bags to take with me on vacation, because I really do use it, and I love being able to make something with my hands to fix a problem that I have. So if you have this problem too, go ahead to her Ravelry page. She's still Funky40 on Ravelry, I believe, but you'll be able to find her as Mel Brown Crafting Podcast as well, and you can download this free Ravelry pattern and make one for yourself. Next items I would like to talk about are a few more items that I had to put into hibernation. Last week I talked about the fact that I had to put the reclaimed wool projects into hibernation so that I could let the idea of designing something with the reclaimed wool sit in my subconscious for a little bit. Hopefully something will pop out that is creative and fantastic, and I will remember to write it all down so that I can then publish a pattern. But this week I've also decided to put the redo of the hubby socks using the Addi Flexi Flips into hibernation. I really don't like those needles. I'm sorry. Addi is a fabulous maker of knitting needles. They're always so smooth, and that is not a problem. I mean, that is the truth, that the needles are very smooth. They knit smoothly. I'm just not enjoying the process of basically using 3 needles, a 3/4 needle setup for a sock. I was so used to using the 16-inch, two 16-inch circular needles that I was actually dropping the Addi needle on the floor, because usually I can knit to the end of the circular and I can let go because it's still attached. So I was dropping it on the floor, and yeah, I was just not enjoying the process. So if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? So I'm gonna put those into hibernation and maybe tackle them when I have a little bit more patience, and maybe I'll just buy a set of 2.75 circular needles, or actually I might have a set, I'm not sure, maybe I'll switch over. Anyway, it's going into hibernation. It's not super important. He waited 4 years to bring them to me, so he can wait a little bit to have the redo. And the other thing that I'm saying that I'm putting into hibernation is the wedding afghan that I was working on. And to be honest, I don't think I've actually worked on it since I started recording these videos back in February. So the reality of the situation is that it's always been in hibernation. That blanket is another triangle blanket, C2C, end to end, whatever you want to call it. And it is for a wedding that's not going to take place until August. So hopefully I will be able to pick that up after I finish the baby blanket and a couple other whips that I already have in progress. Now we come to the part of the show that I like to call Magical Memories. It's basically a recap of things that I've recently done that were magical and wonderful memories, either for me and my friends, or for me and my family. This past week, my family and I went to Lake Windermere and the Lake District here in England. Unbelievably, we've actually never been there. I don't know if it's one of those things that when you live somewhere, you have a tendency not to visit the local sites of where you live. However, this weekend there was a boat show on Lake Windermere that my husband wanted to go to, so we got in the car and we drove the couple hours to get to the Lake District. Which brings me to a point that I wanted to talk about travel knitting. And this is where I wanted to show you the venomous tentacula. Travel knitting, you know, when you mention travel knitting, I instantly think a pair of socks. because they're small, they're portable, you know, you can shove them inside your purse, no problem. And then if you're doing a vanilla sock, it's like knit in the round and you don't have to think about it. Sometimes though, I would like something a little bit more challenging, not too challenging, but just a little bit more than a vanilla sock. So for this trip, I took two projects with me. I took the Fiery Venomous Tentacula, the pattern being by Jennifer DeSalle, and I also took my Bird of Fire. That pattern is by Sarah Wilcox. The Venomous Tentacula, I ended up not working on at all, and this is why. Yes, it's in a nice little sack, and this was portable, and that wasn't a problem. The issue that I have is that, okay, so here's the shawl or cowl. Oh, hey, here's another one of those little gnomes that I showed you earlier. This is the blue one. There, closer. There he is. Right, so this is it, and okay, so it's not huge, totally portable still, but it's got all this beautiful beading on it. I got a little bead there, I got a little sparkly bead here. Where is the sparkly bead? There it is. Okay, so it's got the beading. So, and no, I'm not beading all the time, but when I want to bead or when I feel like I need to bead, I gotta have the beads. So I got the beads in a little container. That's cool. And then I have the hook to go with it. So I have my work, I have this box of beads, I have a hook, I've got the pattern, and I kind of feel like I have to be at a table in order to work on this pattern. So it turns out that this isn't very travel friendly at all. And I seriously did not work on it at all the entire time that we were gone. However, the Bird of Fire that I've been working on, which, by the way, the Bird of Fire is a knit-along that's being hosted by Mel Brown Crafting Podcast. It is not too late to join. If you would like to join, go on over to her groups tab, her groups page in Ravelry. Check out the, go in the groups tab and put in Mel Brown Crafting Podcast, and you'll find the group and you'll see the thread for the Bird of Fire knit along. It's not timed, anybody can take part, and the gorgeous thing about it is that the designer herself is also taking part, so if you have any problems or questions like I did, you can actually talk to her. So here's Bird of Fire. Get on that. Let's see. So I think I'm almost halfway through at this point. Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm on my 8th flame, and there's 17 flames, so I'm almost halfway through. This was a good travel knitting project because it was a little bit more technical. So I had something to keep my interest, but it wasn't so extremely difficult that I had to completely focus on this and I wasn't able to talk to anybody, or, I had to be in a little zone. Also, there's no bibs and bobs to go with it, so it was perfectly fine sitting on my lap, and even had the pattern there on my lap as well. No issues with that. But if you saw the last episode, I was having issues where I was getting some holes in the sky portion in particular, and I went ahead and actually read the instructions and followed the instructions, and now I don't have any holes in the sky section of the knitting. So yay for instructions, yay for new techniques. The issue that I was having is that I wasn't doing a German short row for the turning, and that's something new to me. It is super, super easy. It's just something that I've never done, so that was nice that I learned a new technique as well. So, okay, travel knitting. The last thing that I want to say about it is I would really like to know what everybody else does when they travel. Is it just socks? Is that like everybody's go-to, or is it something similar with an easy knitting stockinette stitch type pattern, or do you not take knitting? Do you take crochet instead? I would love to know what everybody else does when they travel. So go ahead and leave a comment in the link below, or you can come on over to the Ravelry group and you can comment in the thread for this particular episode. But back to Lake Windermere. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. The weather we had was beautiful. I can totally see why writers such as, Beatrix Potter and William Wordsworth, I can see why they went there to get their inspiration for their craft, because it was very inspirational. Even for a knitter like me, I could feel the, inspirational juices flowing, that you really wanted to be there in the nature and, do your thing, so to speak. So we obviously saw sailing boats and other kinds of boats, and the lake again is beautiful. There's lots of trails to walk on, there's lots of nature and plants to look at. I highly recommend that if you've never been there and you're able to get there, go. Just go. Even if you go for the day because it is a feasible driving distance for you, go. It is totally worth it. But while we were there and we were looking at boats, because my husband is a water person. He always has been. He probably always will be. I myself, not so much. I'm a land person. Put me in a nice comfy chair, give me my knitting, a nice little beverage. I'm totally in the zone. So I'm a little uncomfortable around the water and boats. I saw Jaws at way too young of an age, and yes, it has scarred me for life. Seeing my brother almost drown in a swimming pool probably didn't help either. But you get married to somebody who's the opposite of you, so you can learn new things. Yeah, I'm sorry this is totally scatterbrained, but that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, that yes, we were there, we were in this beautiful location, but it did make me a little anxious, a little nervous, so I started thinking crazy thoughts. We were on one of the boats, and I saw the boat's logs, the logs that they have to keep, and they were inside a plastic tub, and inside the tub there were those little silica gel packs, and I was like, oh yeah, like they have to do that because they have to protect against moisture. And then I was like, oh, because hubby really wants a boat, like he's looking towards like our golden years together, although we're not that old, but he is a future planner. And I started thinking like, well, what about my yarn and my wool? What am I going to do? How am I going to store that? Like, can't have that stuff getting moldy or mildewy, but there are ways to combat that. I did look it up. One of the other things that I started thinking about was the Iran sweaters that you see when you get around the water and the boats. You start thinking of fishermen, and for some reason I had it stuck in my head that those Iran sweaters were meant to be worn wet, and I was like, that's kind of crazy, and why would you willingly put a wet sweater on top of you if you're out on the water and it's cold? But I looked that up too, and what it is that the Iran jumpers were originally knit with unwashed wool that still contained a lot of the lanolin, natural lanolins from the sheep. So if the sweater got wet, it was still wearable and still warm. Again, my brain was going like 100 miles an hour. Because then I was like, yeah, Aquaman. Did anybody see Aquaman? Because I went from Iran sweaters. And then did anybody see his jumper in Justice League? Yes. Yes, please. Can I have that? I mean, he's just hot. Yes, please. But the sweater on top of it, that was really cool. And I was looking on Ravelry, and I think a couple people have done some patterns, some imitation patterns. So that might be something in the works in the future. But yes, overall, it was a fabulous time despite my crazy notions and my crazy thoughts. And I guess, again, that's why people who are artistic and crafty are drawn to the Lake District, because it just lets your imagination run wild. So, if you're interested in any of the crazy thoughts, crazy notions that I had, I have included all those things, as well as the people and places and patterns and yarns that I talked about, in the show notes in the description box of this video. That's it for me for this episode of Doll Ballet Knits. I hope that you have liked what you've seen, and if you have, please give me a thumbs up and like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to come back for the next episode so you can stay notified. And until we see each other again, I wish you happy knitting, and I hope that you go out and make some magical memories of your own. Bye! Last week I talked about, I don't remember what I talked about last week. What did I talk about last week? I can go back and look at the show notes. Yes, I can, 'cause I have show notes. Ooh. Wow. Drawing a blank already. Not good. Not a good way to start. Ah, crap. I didn't start the recording.